welcome to Black Leader with Voices. My name is Corey the Iconic One, and over here I have my co-host, Christopher Papa Smurf Casey. Today, my special guest is Ms. Danielle Richardson, and today's topic is homicide and domestic violence. Good evening.
How y'all doing today? Once again, we on location at Jay's Barber Shop, 1039D Johnny Dobbs Boulevard, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. You can reach them at 843-637-0889. Come see Gerard, Henry, or Patrice. And with this is being shot by D&M Productions, you could also reach them at 843-270-4961.
How you doing, Ms. Danielle?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm glad to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here.
And with this show today, this show is very well needed in the urban communities, in our community, and it needs to be addressed. So I want to say thank you for coming out to handle this and discuss this matter of this subject. I want to first ask you and start off. What's the name of the organization you're a part of?
I'm a part of the national chapter of the South Carolina Homicide Victims Survivor Support Group.
Okay. And how long? Do you know how long the organization has been in existence?
It's been in existence for about 15 years now.
Okay.
And I have been a part of it for the last 6 years.
Okay. Are you involved in any more organizations such as this?
Actually, I'm not a part of any other homicide victims support group, but what I am doing is forming my own organization called Inspire Me.
Okay.
And Inspire Me is going to be a family-oriented charity that we're going to be able to bring families back together. Because when you talk about domestic violence, you always talk about the woman and the woman is being abused and the child is being neglected. The father is not really there, or if it's in the household, he's abusive and mean. And we want to be able to change that whole dynamic of that situation. And what part of my group, where we will be able to start having family functions when the whole family's be able to sit at the table, to eat dinner all together. The mom and the dad is at the head of the table while the children are in the middle. Okay. And I think that we as Americans, and especially Black Americans, we need to be able to get back to that.
Yeah.
Because I believe that when we started that from the home, then it progressed in the outer community. And when we have a stronger home, we have stronger communities, and we have a stronger nation.
Good. I heard you wrote a book, and I actually went through your book. That's a pretty deep book. You wanna tell us about the book and show the viewers and give them the name of your book?
My book is called God Heard My Cries, The Deliverance. And it talks about my life as a person who have went through lots of tragedies, but also had wonderful upbringings. And in this book, it basically tells about how my life was after witnessing my mother, Janet Lee Richardson, dying from domestic violence done by homicide. And me and my brothers were very young. I was 16. My other brothers was 14, 10, and 8 years old when we witnessed our mother die. And it was very horrible and tragic, very tragic situation that we had to endure as children. And for me, writing this book means a whole lot because it really expresses the in details of how a child living in that type of situation, witnessing domestic violence daily, and how they're being brought up in the struggles that we have to endure, far as witnessing, and living and trying to relive and prosper after witnessing something like that. And it's very, very, very hard for a young child to be able to come up after really witnessing your mom die, who was your bread and your butter, who solely is taking care of you, and now you don't have that mother, father figure because we lost both parents, during that situation. And it's a process, and it wasn't easy, and I thank God that I really made it through. And my platform is not just to write the book, just to tell my story, but I want people to really take my testimony and apply it to their own life. Like if they're in a domestic violence situation, if they read my book, they want to be able to say, you know what, I don't want my kids to be able to go through this thing, the things that Danielle or her brothers had to go through. I want to be able to better myself, so they're going to do whatever it is to better their family, and that is if they want to come out and reach out to my organization and say, hey, can you help my family get back together? Can you help my family come from out of this domestic violence situation? And we are here for them.
I saw in your book that you said you was depressed, you had suicidal thoughts, and you had, how was you able to come through out that darkness in your life through that course of that period of time?
Oh, that was a very, very dark time for me, because when I first tried to commit suicide, I was right around 16, 17 years old. The death of my mom was still fresh. I was separated from my brothers, through family. So, I went to one city, my other brothers then went to different states and stuff like that, and I felt very alone. It's like there's nothing in this world that can help you really get over witnessing your mom death.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that was like constant nightmares for me, where you wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and you can see the same scene every night. And at that point in time, I just wanted to, just be near my mom, because if any time I was sick or anything, she was there to comfort me. And this was the time that I really needed her to comfort me, but she couldn't. And I just wanted to, go where she was going to heaven or whatever. And that was just really dark and depressing for me. And what I tried to do didn't work. So then I said, well, maybe God has a plan for me while I'm still here, and even though I felt I was still suffering. And it just came slowly by surely. And once I was able to have children, my two oldest daughter's kids, their dad got murdered in Colombia, execution style. And they were like 8 and 12 then, and that was just like the real hard part of me trying to help them to be able to learn how to deal with death and understand death. And reason I didn't even know how to deal with it myself, because I was still yet suffering from my mom. And then at this time, I just went in down for prayer, and it's like, help us, because God, I need you right now more than anything. And I think that's when my point of time where God really stepped in and just changed the whole dynamic. I was able to find a church called Ebenezer AME Church downtown Charleston, and there are so many great people there, like Pastor William Swinton, Sonia, Miss Tony. They're my personal prayer warriors. They kind of like, well, let me get you in here. We're going to help pray with you. We're going to teach you how to be a mother, how to be a leader, how to be have a successful family. And with those angels that was really surrounding me and molding me and teaching me how to be able to press on even after I've had the worst of done to me, I was able to be able to get out that dark and cloudy situation. So by the time I had major incidents that happened in my life, I was able to know how to pray and how to figure out how to get things done in a better way without being depressed, without feeling sad and sorry for myself or the family. So that's what's kind of where we at now, and we're happy.
Let me ask you a question, because I heard you say that you was involved with this now for 6 years. Could you offer some kind of insight, because I can't really speak about this, I've never encountered it. Could you tell our audience what are some of the signs that leads up to domestic violence? And as far as murder, what would be some of the signs that you would notice early on that would kind of gear you to believe that you're in a form of domestic violence?
Okay, one of the biggest ones is when your mate tells you, if you leave me, I will kill you. Do not take that lightly, because that is very serious. When your mate is taking death threats and saying death threats to you, oh, I'll kill you if you go outside, or I'll kill you if you look at the next person. Don't take it lightly. That is very serious. And when it gets to that point, when your mate is threatening your life, you need to seek help, get out as fast as you can, and safely as you can.
Yes, ma'am.
You can't just say, oh, I'm leaving you, because that's a trigger. Because when an aggressor thinks that he is not in control of a situation, and if you feel that you have that power that you want to leave and step, then it becomes tragic.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of the main things, like, that is a big flag when he says that, hey, I'll kill you if you do such and such, or he threatens to take your children away, or destroy your prized possession. You have to be able to know when the limit is and be able to seek help, because a lot of times it's not so much of the physical part of domestic violence come later on. It's the mental and the emotional damage that has already been done by the time the physical starts.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people is like. They feel that they're not in domestic violence relationship because he didn't hit me, or she didn't hit me, or whatever. And it's not just the physical. You have to get where it's the mental and the emotional abuse that comes way before the physical abuse. Because when you got people telling you like signs of like, oh, you're ugly, or you never would make it without me, and these are things that they place in their heads where it becomes like a brainwashing, because now you feel that you have to endure that type of pain and suffering emotionally. And once that aggressor feels that he has you wrapped in your mind and your emotions, it's easy for that person to be able to say, well, I'll slap you, I'll hit you, and because you're going to do what I say do. And that what it becomes, and then it becomes domestic violence, as an abroad, and then it becomes one time, second time, then it becomes something that have a daily routine. And then sometimes, you get the courage to say, no, I can't take this no more, and you be able to escape or leave or go and get help. But in the case like with my mom, when she died, she got killed in 1991. Well, there weren't too many places out here that you can go and seek help, and then with the aggressor, they take away your family.
Mm-hmm.
They take you away from your family, so you can't call your mom or your sister or your brother and say, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Can I just come to you? And a lot of times when you're blocked from your family, you have nowhere, you don't have no outlet.
Yes, ma'am.
And with my mom, she didn't have that outlet, to be able to just kind of up and leave, or really to get help. So when it got to the point when this was physical, and then one night it was just one argument that too strong, and then it exploded, and he stabbed her 37 times.
Wow.
to death. And so what I always was tell people in that area is where let's start looking at the warning signs, and not just you as a victim look at the warning signs. You need to have your family members and your friends. Just don't turn a blind eye to it.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to be able to learn and know the warning signs, because if you pick up on it, you can be able to save that person's life.
Right.
Because a lot of times a lot of people don't know and understand that there are any domestic violence relationship, because they're in it. But when you're on the outside looking in and you see things that are, are warning signs, and you're like, hey, if you're a real friend or real family member, you say, hey, Jane, I don't think this is a really good relationship, or, even if it's a person that's probably hard to get in contact with, find organization or pamphlets and just hand them near, or put them in a position where they can find it. So if I need it, I can be able to get to it.
Right.
Do you think writing a book was a good rehabilitation stage for you? To put that pain that you got on the inside and put it on paper?
Yes, as I am a writer. I love to write. Writing was one of my passions, and it was always therapeutic for me, even when I was a child. I would always write poems and write books, and I had to, I put all my heart and my soul into my books, and the therapeutic situation really came for me in this book when I reached the breaking point of really letting everybody know, like, hey, domestic violence is really not what it's all cracked up to be, and it's not something you take lightly. And that came from the similar point of back in December of 2009, my youngest brother, he committed a murder because of his flashbacks, mental illness, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and among other things that he's suffering with. That he killed his roommate, and that was very tragic situation, and it really hurted me to my very heart because we are still trying to get over this thing with my mom, and here he has been a person that has killed, but the media kind of took it as he saw his mama get killed, so now he think he has the right to go kill everybody, and that's not the case. And it's like when you you're a child and you witness so many things, you have so many things bundled in your mind and in your heart that you have to live with, and if you're not presented with a place, an outlet to be able to take that, express that out, it becomes very mind-boggling, and you come up with all kind of domestic, abuse, be abusers, or you become, very depressed mentally, and when men, it's hard for them to be able to go to a psychiatrist and say, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
Or hey, I was molested and stuff like that, and you can't do that. So for me, I had to tell my side of the story, and maybe that people would look and read and see that, okay, if this happened to her, I can only imagine what was going on with the boys.
Right.
And so I did that. I put the book out, and so far so good that people really understand, like, okay, well, I really thought this about your brother, or I thought this about your family, but now reading your book and seeing exactly how domestic violence really took a toll on y'all, and how on all the tragic things that y'all had to really go through, I really feel something for you, or it changed my life because I was going through that direction, or I've been there. And so it's an awakening call, and I really pray that people would really don't look at the person, look at the crime, and figure out what it is, that how we can be able to make things better.
Right.
Hold that thought for a second. This is Black Leader with Voices. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. This is Black Leaders with Voices. I am Chris Papa Smurf Kaysen, my co-host Corey, the Iconic One, and we have been honored today to have Danielle Richardson here to speak to us. Our subject and topic is homicide and domestic violence.
Now that we're back, I also wanted to ask you about, I know you got kids. How many kids you got?
I have 6 kids. I have 5 girls and 1 boy.
You're a big fan.
Yes.
Eating good.
How do you, living in the communities we have today, was the crime is a big issue in the urban communities and the black communities. How do you knowledge your kids with how to, to carry themselves and not to get caught up in the negativity of the black on black crime in the community?
Well, with me and my family, we stand by this word as the word of God. As long as in my house, we will serve the Lord. And serving the Lord, there is no violence and to begin that. And we have an open communication in our family. It's a large family, and I'm a single parent. And the most important thing for me is the communication with my children. And what we do as a family, once a week, at least twice a month, we sit down, we talk about things, like general things that goes on in the community, what goes on in politics. Real
issues.
Real issues, and I learned just from them just as much as they learn from me, because they ask questions about things that's going on in the neighborhood. How do we feel about it? And I ask them questions, and we politic again with each other about it, and it's a learning process. But I always keep that communication line open, because I don't want my kids to be, because they're getting older, especially as teens, to go out there and things happen. They may be involved with something, or their friends that may be involved with something. I want them to be able to have that armor on, so that when to walk away from things, or when to bring things home. That, hey, mom, this is going on. My friend need help. I need help, because it takes a village to raise a child.
That's true.
And I want them to be able to say, I'm not here, that they know how to be able to be respectable and say, hey, Miss Jones or Mr. Jones, I need help. Can you be able to help me in this situation or this here is going on? Because if we don't, we have to train the children how to be able to speak and communicate, and that all is fall back down into your home base and your home family. Because once that child step out in that world, it's them in the world. You know, as parents we can't always protect our children, and so because we're not always there. So I train them to where even when I'm not in my presence, they know how to act like we're just.
Smart. Like I know you have a past history of being involved in the streets.
Right.
Looking back at it then and compared to now, I know it's a big gap and it's a difference of how black men had carried themselves then compared to now. What did you think? I mean, give me your opinion. What you think happened from guys having an issue and addressing it like men are fighting to now guys pull guns to have conversations? How do you feel about that?
Corey, one of the biggest things that we deal with African Americans, youth, males especially, is identity. We have been bamboozled into believing that everything we see on TV is easy to acquire. Well, we actually don't want to work for it no more. We want it to the point to where we want it by any means necessary. And a big part of the situation that has it so fluent within the African American community is there's no father figure in the house. Fathers have left the responsibility to the mother to raise the child as though there's some certain entity that's going to come and say this is how to be a man when she's only been a woman. She's never been a man. So a lot of responsibility falls on the elders of the family, the grown-ups. Now you have where grandfathers are 35, when you had a grandmother that was 55, 60, and she made sure everybody sat down to the dinner table. She made sure the homework got done. She made sure the young man washed off at night. We've gotten away from that, Corey. And that's one of the reasons why Black Leaders with Voices came about. We want to set a precedence with guys like myself, who's been in the street all my life, to say that this is the road that's going to lead you to destruction, because I've been there. I've walked the road. I've seen it. I profited off it. But there's really no substance to it. I'm not going to really ever gain from it, because there's always going to be something that I do that's going to always be classified as wrong. So if we can get more of the fathers back into the homes, start to set a precedence of where the kid says, I want to be like my daddy. He's the role model. Where he's the role model. And not have to go through a situation where the uncle's in prison and the daddy's in prison, and him not having that say or alternative to say, I'm not going to do this because my daddy did it. So there's a lot we can do, and that's one of the reasons why I was so honored to be a part of this, because the voice needs to be heard from people who's been there. You can't have a man tell me how it feels to be an alcoholic if he's never drunk liquor. So it is imperative that brothers like yourself, who took a stand on African American males being in the home, sisters like Ms. Richardson's here, who's actually went through it. See, who could better tell her how it feels to lose a mother than a person who's went through it? These are the important things our community needs, and they need to hear it now. There's no more of that, let's talk about it later, or he'll get by, he's going through it. No. Let's address this issue, put it on the table, and get rid of it.
How do you feel now that I've seen you on Facebook and seen you actually at different rallies? And we can get at the Coliseum 2,000-3,000 people to come to a concert.
Right.
But when you have a rally and have a cause, you and Pastor Dixon, it's under 100.
I'm glad you said that, Corey. Let me tell you why. We're up right now against Jay-Z, Kanye West. We have so many distractions that it's more easier to live carefree. Follow me now, audience. Carefree instead of careful. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to have some form of discipline. When you're driving down the road and you know you're supposed to be to your appointment at 2 o'clock and the car swerves off or cuts you off, the first thing you're, that stupid mother. But you have to remember that child is sitting in the back seat listening to everything you're saying. This is why a lot of the children don't want to pay attention when someone is trying to give them or offer them a better opinion. Because the first form, the most influence they get comes from out of the house. And how am I, a stranger, to tell you to stop smoking marijuana when your daddy's smoking it? Who are you going to rather listen to? Me, a stranger, or what you see in your house? These people are inclined to go the easy way. And we're teaching our children it's the easy way. Do you see the nonsense that's going on with this materialistic avenue our African American children travel? There just was a thing that was posted about the Jordans, the new Michael Jordan sneakers. They had a line lined up. But when it comes time to vote, we can't get nobody there to vote. So, Corey, yes, there is issues that has to be raised. But it goes back to accountability. We're so quick to point our finger at the child and say, we're going to hold you accountable. But how about us? We have to start taking accountability for our actions. And once we do that, people will be inclined to hear stuff like Black Leaders with Voices, where you can go on Facebook and put a picture of a party coming on this weekend and women are free before 11, and they articulate their stuff. Make sure that they got their stuff in order to be there free before 11. But you can't go to a PTA meeting. These are the things why our children feel that it's more easier to be carefree than cared for.
And that's a problem. That's a problem. Because I remember there was a time when I was younger that the respect for the man or the woman in the neighborhood was strong, and people stood on that. Whether a man was on drugs or whether he was an alcoholic, if he saw you did something wrong, check you.
Right.
You respect him as the individual, being a man.
Right.
You stop what you was doing because you know that was a man. He was an elder man, and you respect your elders in your neighborhood.
Well, let me say this, and this is personal, because I know our age differences. I'm older than you.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Why did you do this, Corey? Why did you come up with this? Why did you put this show together? What was your point? Why did you want this to happen? Why did you want us to address the audience the way we are? What motivated you to do this?
Because I felt that the leaders and the community still exist.
Okay.
I think that people question the ones who can't speak or don't have the courage to speak. We are our role models and we are our leaders, and then they automatically say we don't have them no more. They don't exist, but they do exist. And I believe that every show we have will expose every leader, whether it's black or Caucasian.
Right.
That leaders still exist, and that we can give food and knowledge to the unknown, to the ones that don't understand or don't have the thought or the mind process to move forward and live right and do things of righteousness.
Okay, and that's fine, and I'm in agreement with that. But if I was speaking to, and this is no disrespect to any ethnic group, but I'm just going to use this analogy. If I was speaking to a Mexican, Corey, that never spoke English before, how would I get my point across? I said that to ask you this. Knowing that the approach is so carefree now, how are you going to get anyone to ever understand the point you're trying to get across here today?
Smurf, what we're going through, you can't lay down.
Okay.
You can't give up. I'm not going to impose the card of saying the religious card, but we respect the leaders, what we call leaders, every Sunday morning when we go to church.
Okay.
When that minister stands on that pulpit and preaches the word of God, he's considered not only a minister or a preacher, but he's considered a leader. With him being a leader of his organization and his church, these are the people that still can leave out the pulpit and come outside to the community and talk to the community.
Okay.
It's more than going to church and dressing up every Sunday morning, hearing the word and paying your money until the offering paying.
Right.
You have to be a leader beyond the pulpit.
Right.
And that's what that's one of the reasons we are falling short with our community. Because if you go back in the civil rights movement, all our leaders came from off the pulpit, right. And they walked for miles.
Right.
When the last? I mean, how many minutes do you know walk now?
Right.
I walk for a reason. I walk for a cause.
Okay. One more question. I'm gonna leave you on because I don't want the audience to think I'm picking at you. I also want to definitely give a shout out to D&M Productions. If you need any videographing done or anything related to filming, you can contact them at 270-4961. Maurice and Darnell, they will be more than glad to come out and help you out with your program, and they're very reasonable. They do it all, they edit it, and they sound checks and everything. One last question for me, Corey. You invited Miss Richardson here today, and I heard her testimony. But the little brief thing I had read out of her book, matter of fact, do you mind if I show this to you? One of the things that I noticed on the front of her book was said the deliverance. Do I have to wait till someone dies in my family to be delivered? How can I find this? And this could, any one of y'all can answer this. I just wanted to pick at you for a little while. How can I be delivered? What steps would you recommend now, considering all that's going on, that I could use to be delivered, in a sense?
To being delivered, okay, in what aspect? Being delivered as?
Out of the mental stage of darkness. Some people even say use slavery as an issue, that we're still perpetuating the old slave masters mentality, employment, as we spoke about earlier, fathers being in the home. How can we deliver our people out of all this madness?
Smurf, the only thing I can think of is we're going to have to continue to push, continue to do rallies, continue to reach out, and the main thing is our youth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the future. That's who coming up next is going to carry on.
But Corey, they're telling me that rallies don't do nothing, that marches don't do nothing, that all these shows and all these picketing we doing ain't serving no purpose, just a bunch of hot air. How can we be delivered?
Smurf, listen, we can talk to 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
If we get 1 or 2 more leaders to join us, that's 2 more leaders we ain't had.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what it's all about.
Ms. Richardson, and I'm not gonna single you out, but I wanted that from him. But it's your book. You put it on there for a reason. Tell me, how can we get delivered?
We can get delivered. We can get delivered as an individual, as a community, as a family, as a whole, as a nation. But the deliverance got to start from home.
Okay.
We got to be able to start being mothers, start being fathers, to start showing role models to our youth. Because if they're not listening to the mama and the daddy in the home, they're not gonna listen to what everybody else has to say.
You gotta lead by example.
You gotta lead by example. So we can have as many rallies and groups as we want.
Okay.
But if we're not having the leadership in the home, pushing them to getting the kids to be able to come to the youth rally is not of importance. We have to, as parents, we have to show importance in our own family.
Okay.
And when we have families like with me, I have a large family. I have 6 kids. I sit down and talk with them. We communicate. So when I'm ready to go step out here to these rallies, they're ready to come with me.
But how about the parents that has the kids that has been misled and don't have the will or to be they don't have the knowledge how to even be a role model, because the grandparents
never had.
If you think what Smurf said, the grandparents the age done stepped down.
Yeah,
right.
The age has definitely have stepped down. When we got grandmothers, great grandmothers really at 35, we got grandmamas at 30, and they got a child here who has a child at 14. And this is what we have an initiatives that we have to be able to form, and that is where we educate, because it's never too late to learn. We have to start having not just rallies but conferences, workshop how to be able to handle a youth, how to be able to raise a toddler. We have to put ourselves in just the teaching moment. We having rallies and we standing around and we talking about we need to have peace and we need to have this. You can't be able to tell somebody that we're to have peace if they're not be able to talk to how to have peace.
That's right.
We have need more workshops, more classrooms. What you must in the public schools you can get at home.
Mm-hmm.
There was once upon a time back in the day where the Black Panthers, they started the WIC program. They had in the educational program they taught parents and children things that weren't taught in the public schools.
Right.
We need to get back to that where, if I'm a parent and I'm 14, 15 years old and I have a mother out there who is on drugs and stuff like that, but I want better for my children or my child, where do I go? This is where our churches need to open back up and say, on Saturdays we have a teen summit on Saturdays where we teaching kids that this is not proper to have sex at an early age, or this is what STD or HIV, what these diseases are, so that they can be able to be aware. And a lot of times, and I've seen them, and even some that have personally came to me and said, Miss Daniel, can you be able to help me? There are kids who out there, their parents might be lost, but they don't want to be lost, but they need an outlet to be able to say, where can I go to get help?
Yeah.
You know, and we have to be able to have those type of initiatives to be in place. Because if it's not being taught, it's just no use to have rallies to be able to stop the violence. Okay, we want to stop the violence in the neighborhood and the community. We need to be able to get to the source. We evaluate the source. This is, we having crime. Now we need to educate. And then we need to empower. And when we talk about educating, let's sit these kids down and say, this is gun violence. This is the effect of gun violence. Because a lot of kids, they pick up the gun and the only thing they know is defense mode. They don't know what the proper way of handling the gun, or why do they need a gun. They just think that that's what they're supposed to be able to. You know, it's cool to carry a gun and not know. You know, the ethics are behind it. And I think we start teaching, you know, the youth, start teaching the adults, you know, make a platform to where like they can come in, be taught, and then we can be able to empower. Because they will know better. Like, you know, as the old saying say, when you know better, you do better. Once we teach our youth and teach the adults that's coming up, you know, then they'll do better. And the crowd, when you have the rallies, when we have the march, they'll go forth.
Okay. We're going to take another short break again. This is Black Leader with Voices. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're at Black Leader with Voices. We're back with Ms. Danielle Richardson, who touched on today on homicide and domestic violence. Welcome my co-host again, Christopher Papa Surf Kaysen, and we're back. Ms. Danielle, I want to ask you, to the viewers out there that either going through the situation that you went through, or for future reference, sad to say if somebody was to even go through something like that, but that's a lot. How can the viewers find help if they fall themselves in that situation?
Well, you can be able to find help through calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And that number is 1-800-799-SAFE or at 1-800-787-3224. And if you are locally in Charleston, South Carolina, and you are having a domestic violence dispute, you must importantly seek help and find shelter. And we have in My Sister House, which is a domestic violence shelter, and you can give them a call at 843-744-3242. Once again, that's My Sister House, 843-744-3242. And if it's a dire emergency and you really have to get out of that situation, please do not hesitate to call 911. And if there are domestic violence support team and staff through Charleston counties and through the city, that they will be able to assist you of all means.
Corey, let me ask you something, and I say this to you with so much respect, because I am very honored to be just sitting in the same room with you, knowing all you've been through and the things you've done to somewhat, I hate to say rehabilitate, because if I use that word, that means at one point I was rehabilitated. But how did you get to this point, considering all the tribulations you went through, being incarcerated, and having the not having the bigger brother figure in your life to actually pull you back in to say, I don't want to do this no more? What was it that got you to this point to where you want to make this? I used deliverance earlier, I'm going to change it. What makes you want to make this change in your life?
Pretty much me going to prison and sitting there spending time with myself. I got a chance to reflect on what I did wrong and what could I do to make it better.
Okay.
And then as I started to study on what the effect on the black community and the black man in the prison system, I no longer wanted to be a part of statistics.
Okay.
Like the ratio of the black man going to prison is crazy.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. So when I looked at the rules that apply to the drug game of selling crack and coke, and what and what the crime rate and what the time that the black man was getting for drugs versus the other drugs like meth or marijuana or any other drugs, I knew that the rules that applied was against me and well as all the other black brothers that was there
Okay.
and in the prison system. So I didn't want to go back to that.
Right.
So when I came home, I came home with a plan. I used my time to study, I did research to try to figure out, okay, when I go out here, I know I'm not going to be able to get a job. Or I know I'm not going to be able to get a job that I really want.
Right.
And so I had to create a job for myself. I had to create opportunities for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I sat with myself, I said, I know a lot of other dudes gonna fall victim to the same situation I'm going through. What can I do to help the ones that don't have knowledge, or the ones that didn't know how to read, or didn't take their time wisely while they was in prison to learn how to benefit themselves when they return to come home.
Right.
So when I came home, I was like, I wanted to be a voice. I wanted to help the other black kids, as far as the youth, and kind of teach them and tell them not to go this route, because this route of hustling is not for us. It's an illusion. And that's why I did that.
Right, and honestly, I've gotten to know you, and I believe that's in your heart. But I noticed that a lot of brothers like yourself are starting to get muffled out. And I say that because I notice there's a lot of attention seekers that come on and do these kind of shows because they want
The attention.
Yeah. Me, myself, I've been very fortunate. I get on the news a lot because of the coalition, Hand in Hand, one of the organizations I helped found, YPAC, Young Adult Positive Action Committee. I get a lot of attention. And one of the things I notice is it has a tendency of rubbing your ego, where you start feeling you're better than others. That because you've overcome these things that you have the right to dictate to others, what their life should be about. Excuse me. If you had to sit me down, because I was in prison also, and you had to offer me something that could catch my attention, make me want to scratch my head, what would you say to me?
I would tell you read more. Pick up a book and read.
So that would go in trying to say that education is the key.
Education and knowledge is definitely key.
That's wonderful, man.
Definitely key.
How is it, though, that our correctional department doesn't offer any of these things, educational outlets for people who want to do better or even educate themselves? How was you able to get this material? I was very fortunate for you to give me this book right here by Julian Barnes, and one of the things I liked about it was the information it had historical facts. How was you able to get this? If the prison system is designed to continue to hold us down, how was you able? What did you do to make them feel comfortable with you having the key that could stop filling the beds in the Department of Corrections?
Well, actually, they let it through. Somebody had given me a copy of the book.
Okay.
And I wanted a copy of that magazine. And what enthused me about the magazine was these people had fight for civil rights and for a cause. And all those people in that magazine died.
Right.
And they died for a cause and stood for something. And I was like, wow. And I was like, none of these people got recognition. We know all about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Medgar Evers. We know those stories. But these stories right here are not heard.
Right.
I wanted to read on all those stories right there.
Right.
And learn what was those people going through mentally to make them actually walk out against the KKK, against the government, against the white police force that was in demand of taking out and wiping out the black kids and the black adults and women in the communities. And I had it ever since, and I always share that book to tell people, read that magazine.
Right.
Read that book.
Well, Corey, if I had a business, any business, say sneakers, I was selling sneakers, and I needed to profit off of this, I wanted to make money, I would try to sell the best sneaker possible because I know I want this income. Explain to me, why would you feel comfortable deterring people from coming to prison when you know it's become an industry now? Don't you feel like your life is in danger, or that you might end up a statistic like Ms. Richardson was talking about because you're offering people a way out? You're taking money out of these people's plate. because you're teaching and educating youth not to go to prison. You don't in no way feel threatened that this system, this big government we have, is going to come down on you because you're trying to educate our youth?
Smurf, the show is called Black Leaders Voices.
Right.
I consider myself a leader with a voice.
Say no more, brother.
And that's what it is. Like I figure that my word should be heard to the unknown and the people that don't have knowledge of. So if I can feed them with food, let them eat.
True indeed, man. True indeed. This is Jay's Barbershop. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful subject we had today. It's an honor to have Danielle Richardson here today. She is the author of God Heard My Cries, The Deliverance. If you're in Mount Pleasant and you're looking for a very good haircut, please come by Jay's Barbershop. It's located at 1039D Johnny Dogs Boulevard. You can also call for directions. That's 637-0889. I also want y'all to know that if any production is needed, videographing, weddings, birthday parties, anything, please contact DMM Production. You can also reach them at 270-4961. I'm very honored to be here today sitting along with my co-defendant. I want to say that. I want y'all to laugh. Corey, the Iconic One, and Miss Danielle Richardson. I'm blessed. I have to say that. I really am.
Well, we're going to close on out. My name is Corey, the Iconic One. This is Ms. Danielle Richardson. It's Christopher Papa Smurf Casing. And y'all make sure y'all go out and buy Ms. Richardson's book. Y'all go get that book. Y'all check that book out and get that book. Where they can find this book at?
You can find the book on Amazon.com, and it is also available on Kindle.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming out. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
This is Black Leader Voice, and we'll see y'all next week.